I remember that text as vividly as if it had popped up on my phone this morning. At Mom's tonight. Just 5 simple words. Casual, ordinary, but in that moment, they carried a weight she probably never intended. I answered the same way I always did. Keeping things light. Say hi. That was it. No questions, no digging, no reading too deeply into it. I thought that was a mature thing to do. I thought that was what trust looked like. Her name is Emily. We had been together for 3 years, and I genuinely believed we had a relationship built on honesty, or at least I wanted to believe we did. She'd always had a strong independent streak, a need for space, and I respected that. But in the last few months, something had shifted. The signs were small, almost invisible. The way she paused a beat too long before replying to my messages. The sudden late nights at her mom's. The phone that immediately flipped face down whenever she walked into a room. But that night, I forced myself not to overthink any of it. I reminded myself she was allowed to have her own life, her own time, her own world beyond ours. I told myself love wasn't about policing someone's every move. So I didn't text again. I didn't call. I put my phone aside and buried myself in work. But sleep refused to come. My mind kept spinning through every possibility. Innocent ones, and the darker ones I didn't want to acknowledge. I pictured her laughing on her mom's couch, oblivious to the fact that I was lying awake, replaying every interaction from the last week, searching for clues I might have missed. Midnight passed, then 1, then 2, and just when the silence became unbearable, my phone buzzed. A message from her. But it wasn't words, not yet. It was a single photo, taken from the perspective of someone sitting in a car. Early morning light washed over her face. She was coming home. When she walked through the door, the stiffness in her shoulders, the quiet in her voice, the way her eyes didn't meet mine, all of it spoke louder than anything she could have texted. In that instant, I realized some truths never need to be said out loud. They show up in how someone carries themselves, in the pause before they speak, in the heaviness they bring into a room. And that morning, Emily's presence told me everything. The air felt thick as she stepped inside. She didn't greet me the way she normally did. No smile, no effortless morning, just a short nod, her movements tight and uneasy, like she was dragging something unseen with her. I almost asked if she was all right, but something in the way she walked made me stay silent. Truth doesn't always unfold in conversations. Sometimes it's in posture, in hesitation, in the shift of energy that fills a room before anyone even speaks. I made us both coffee, trying to anchor myself in something familiar. She sat at the table scrolling her phone, but I could feel her avoiding my eyes. That brief, calculated glance tightened something in my chest. For years, I thought we shared an unspoken rhythm. Effortless conversations, looks that said more than words, laughter that came naturally. But now, even the smallest moment felt like balancing on a thin wire. Weeks earlier, things had already begun to change, though I'd pushed it aside. She'd started coming home later, her reasons vague, almost rehearsed. I gently asked once if something was wrong, if maybe someone else was involved. She brushed it off with a laugh. "You worry too much," she'd said. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust her. But trust can't survive when instincts keep sounding alarms. It's fragile, and once shaken, it doesn't snap back easily. I tried to keep things normal that morning. Asked about her mom, her plans, anything to ground us. She answered, but her voice sounded mechanical, distant. There was tension wrapped around every word, like she was carefully choosing what to reveal and what to hide. Each time she looked up, I searched for something real, something familiar. There was nothing, just the polished calm of someone concealing a truth they weren't ready to admit. It wasn't only the late-night drive or the silence or the stiffness of her greeting. It was the unmistakable sense of being locked out of my own relationship, as if I had been demoted to an observer. I saw it in her eyes. She was protecting something, and I instinctively knew no simple explanation was going to cover it this time. By the time she set her bag down and pushed her coffee away, the morning had already said everything. Her movements, her tension, the uncertainty in her eyes, they all pointed to truth I didn't want to confront. My heart sank. Some moments confirm your fears without a single word. By mid-morning, the tension in the apartment was thick enough to feel. Emily drifted around the space, tidying dishes, wiping counters, straightening the living room. But everything she did looked deliberate, almost too precise. Each sigh, each glance my way felt measured. I stayed quiet. I knew eventually something would slip. Finally, she looked up from the counter, meeting my eyes for barely half a second. And in that flicker, I saw it. The guilt she tried to hide, quickly swallowed by composure. She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised a hand. I didn't need an explanation yet. The truth was already in the room, woven into her posture, her silence, her avoidance. I had spent countless nights learning how to read people, the subtle cues, the unspoken signals. Everything she'd done over the past few weeks was a trail she wasn't aware she'd left. We sat across from each other, the silence stretching between us. I poured myself another cup of coffee, steady and calm. She tried breaking the tension with small talk. Her mom, the weather, nothing meaningful, nothing real. And that's when everything clicked. The pattern, the late nights, the guarded texts, the sudden shifts. It all aligned, clear as day. Emily froze when she realized I wasn't reacting how I normally did. No anger, no accusations, no panic, just quiet understanding. The truth didn't come from confrontation. It came from observation. And in that silence, the reality was undeniable. Her secret wasn't spoken, but it didn't have to be. The pieces had already formed the picture. She left the apartment later that morning, but not before glancing back. A mixture of fear and defiance flickered in her eyes. I didn't follow. I didn't plead. I didn't try to repair something that had already been fractured by secrecy and neglect. Some lessons come too late. Some trust shatters beyond repair. When the door closed behind her, an unexpected lightness settled over me. I had finally confirmed the truth I'd been avoiding. And in doing so, I reclaimed the clarity and the peace that had slowly been slipping away. Some moments don't need words. They speak loud enough on their own. And that morning, in the way she returned, the way she moved, the tension threaded through her every action, the truth was unmistakable. And strangely enough, it set me free